Hello again everyone and welcome back to Ruby the Elite. And today we are starting off our video, our volume 3 video, showing you our service manual. And I'm installing the spark plug, just showing you it's the same part number as what's on the plug as what's in the manual. Also here at the top it's showing our gapping, 0.031 to 0.035 inches. And using my small gapping tool, there you go. We're going to go ahead and remove our ignition coil, and that's going to give us access to the spark plug. What I found on this bike, which was a very cool surprise, was it came with this toolkit. And in the kit, there was a spark plug removing tool. On the other end, you can remove a dipstick. Also included this wrench, couple Allen wrenches. Very cool surprise. And why we need this is if you try to use a universal spark plug remover, it will turn it, but mine wouldn't pull the old plug out. And this one, once you go to remove the old plug, it stays in the tool, which made it quite easy to get it out because it goes in pretty deep. You can see the plug's not in too bad a shape, but I'm putting a new one in anyways. So when you go to put the new plug in, the same thing. It allows you to push it into the tool so there's no movement. And why that's important, when you go to put the tool in the bike, you're not going to accidentally cross-thread your plug. It allows it to stay straight. Then all you have to do is hand tighten it. And then once you're done hand tightening it, you can see there's two little holes on the tool. And that's going to allow you to put the screwdriver that also came in the kit through those two holes, and that way you can lightly, let me stress, lightly torque it down. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on this. You just want to lightly keep it in place just like that. And it also will help you, the screwdriver, to remove the tool. Very cool. I am definitely going to put this back in the trunk where I found it. And I'll be able to use it again another time. So all we have left to do is put the ignition coil, push it back in place with a bit of pressure just to make sure it's seated. And that is all it takes to replace the spark plug on this Yamaha Morphous. Next, we're going to move on to the final drive oil. And you can see this is the removal bolt. And once we remove it, it will start to come out. There's supposed to be 250 milliliters in here, and there's probably close to that, but I don't think that full amount was in. Now, once it does all come out, and again, you should let your bike warm up a bit before removing this, which I did. And when you go to install it again, you are going to put the bolt back on, but you want to make sure you get the majority of it out again. And then when you go to install the new oil, it's recommended that you use 10W30. I know some guys go out and they buy transmission oil or other things that the service manual does not recommend. Put in there what the service manual recommends. There's a reason they put it in there. So we just got a little bit of dripping left. And once that finishes, let's see, that I have the bolt, and it of course has got a crush washer that's installed in it. And here we go again. Found a replacement in my kit. This is now either the 4th or 5th time I've used this, and it's worked out perfectly. This is a metric crush washer kit, and it's got a lot of the different sizes that you're going to need. 250 milliliters. Again, I'd showed this in some of my other videos if you have watched them. This syringe makes it incredibly easy to install your oil. So there's 100 milliliters in this syringe, and I'll put 2 of these in along with 50 to fill this up. What I like about it is it's no mess. It puts the exact amount in. You're not using a funnel or something that could move and then you got oil everywhere. This works so much better. You can get them on Amazon. And this is the final 50. I've already put in 200. And it just makes easy work of it. As soon as you put the front in, just with some light pressure, and it takes it all in, no problem. A little bit of wiping up, and there you go. You got your final drive all set. On our oil plug, we have a O-ring. Of course, I've got my O-ring kit of all different sizes. I found the exact one in my kit, and I'll utilize it. Just put a little bit of oil on it and put it on the plug, and it is an exact match. So I cleaned the plug up, reinstalled it, turned the bike on, just make sure there weren't any leaks, and we're all set. All right, on to the CVT. I've been looking forward to this. We need to start by removing these screws that are on the front part of the cover. It's a 3-part system. Now that we've removed those screws, we can do some light pulling on the end and it'll come right off. Just be mindful of the vent at the top. And yuck, look at this. This is a filter that is in the owner's manual. Very clearly says that you need to clean this out. And it's obvious that never happened. It is gross, and we're going to take it off and remove it. Hello again, Mr. Pizza Pointer. He's back to show us where the screws are to remove it. Thank you very much. I don't think we could have figured that out without you. So we're going to remove this filter, and I'm going to put it right into the circular file. I am not going to blow this out like the manual says. It looks gross, and it's not going back in my bike. With that out of the way, then we need to remove the second part of this cover, which you can see the screws that go all the way around. And if you're wondering why I've already got my side panels removed, please reference my prior videos. I show how to remove those panels, and that's why they're not on the bike currently. All the screws for that second part are all the same, which is really nice. And I also wanted to mention that the screws for the first plastic part, those are all the same size. Now we just got to put some light pressure on the inside here, and this part 2 will come off very easily, exposing the metal third part. Now we have 8mm bolts that go around the whole cover, and as I removed them, I put them on the floor in the order that I did, thinking that they might be in different sizes, like what Honda does. And it didn't even matter because they were all the same size, which is nice. I've grown accustomed to removing the Honda covers and having 3 or 4 different size bolts. Not the case for this Yamaha. You also got the one in the middle, don't let me forget. And with that removed, we just got to put some light pressure on each one of these tabs. I just used a screwdriver and went beyond each one of these, and I lightly pried, and went all the way around. I'm showing you with my finger because it's actually loose right now, but I wanted to tell you how I got it off. You do not need to put a lot of pressure on this. Lightly pry it off. All right, and that gave us access past those 3 covers to our transmission, our CVT. On the left here is our drive face along with our variator, And on the right hand side is our clutch, which is right here. Of course, in the middle is our belt. We got to remove these two big nuts in order to get the belt off though. And this is my replacement belt. That's a part number for it if you're interested. And the reason why I'm putting this new belt on the bike's 14 years old. I don't know how its whole life was spent. I don't know if it was in an area that was dry, humid, whatever. So that's why we're putting the new belt on. We got to take these two nuts off next though. And then once we do, you want to be very, very careful of the way this comes off because it's got to go back on exactly the same. So just be mindful that you're paying attention when you're removing it. You can see when I take this off that it's wider in the rear. That way when you go to install it, you won't have any issues. Now you just need to take the drive face off, which is right here. Just doing a little bit of light tugging. This has never been removed, so it will be a little hard to get off the first time. But no need to pry it or anything. Just a little bit of easy jerking like this, and it will come off. And there you go. The height of the belt, it rode pretty much all the way to the end, which is a good thing. Keep in mind, you see where this belt is. It's on the Varitor, not on the Boss. It needs to be like that when you go to reinstall it. Next, we're going to take off, though, the clutch, and we're going to remove that nut next. So we'll loosen that nut up, and again, when we go to remove this next piece, you can see it's flat on the outside, and it actually has got an indentation on the inside, so it only goes on one way. Make sure you take note of that. When you go to remove the bell, it's extremely important that you do it very gently because just beyond it is a shim and you don't want to lose that shim. I noticed that in my parts fiche. So when you do some gentle pulling on this, just be mindful to not pull too hard and lose the shim. And there's the shim I was talking about. And if I would have pulled on this, I probably would have lost it if I wasn't realizing it was there. So again, be mindful of that shim when removing the bell. Now we're going to lightly pull out the clutch. And you want to just be careful that you don't get any grease anywhere. You want to keep all the grease where it belongs. And just with some light pulling, the whole clutch will come off. Now we're going to remove the Varitor, which I have. The dry boss, that piece in the middle, that also you can remove that, which I will. Now the cam or this back plate, we're going to go ahead and pull that off. Make sure that the slides that are going around each one of the four corners, you can see as I pull, the slides seem to be working just fine. That exposes our rollers. And as you can see, Yamaha is smart by not putting a bunch of grease and mess in here. But we're going to take and we're going to look at each one of these rollers and make sure there aren't any flat spots. And if they are having flat spots, we need to replace them. Mine look just fine though. Now the clutch bell, it's got some shininess in it. We're going to need to address that. I'm going to wipe out the inside of our transmission case. And now I've installed the Varitor back the same way that I removed it. And I started sanding out the inside of my clutch bell. And you can see that it's already starting to look better, starting with some 400 grit sandpaper and then finishing with some 600 grit. It just removed that glazing that was there. We're going to do the same on our weights, and this is going to help this clutch engage better. You can see it's definitely thick enough. No reason to replace these weights yet. But you can see there's a light shininess on this particular one. And this one I've already went ahead and lightly sanded. We're going to talk about the belts now. And you can see the old one next to the new one if you put them right on top of each other, you can feel that the new one is definitely thicker than the old one. Maybe a millimeter, not a whole lot, but another valid reason to replace it besides the 14-year-old age of it. When you go to install the belt, you're going to have to squeeze the clutch and then lightly turn it. And this will allow you to get the belt down in far enough into the groove just by squeezing it. And then it's going to ride on the variator instead of the dry boss like I talked about earlier. Extremely important that you put it back the same way we talked about. You can see that the pads are nice and thick. No reason to replace those. And again, be mindful of all that grease to not get it on your belt or anywhere else. Otherwise, you're going to get slippage. We have our shim back in place, as you can see. Our bell looks really nice, so we can go ahead and reinstall that. And goes on the same way it came off, no big deal. And remembering that this came off with that groove in the back and then the nut going over the top. Sorry for the bad lighting. The sun started to creep into the garage. And we're going to go ahead and we torque that one back to place. Now we're going to concentrate doing the same thing with the variator, putting everything back in the same fashion and order that it came out. I don't need to add any grease like the manual says to this. This is like full of grease, so I will just torque this back on. Clean it out a little bit. I'm not sure what this is on the inside, but I will torque it back to the specs in the manual. First, I just want to make sure that I can get it all the way hand tightened and everything's looking good. Alright, the nuts are back on, everything torqued down the way it's supposed to, the belt is sitting where it needs to be. Let's go ahead and start up the bike. And just doing a quick test to make sure that the belt and everything is turning okay. It seems to be just fine. I turned the bike off, started it back up again, giving it some gas here and there, just to check to make sure that the nuts are on strong, that they're not giving me a problem. This is something that does move in a high RPM, so you just want to check this and make sure everything is okay before you put the covers back on again. It's not hurting anything by running it, so by doing this you're just saving yourself the grief. If one of those nuts came off or something, you could see it now before you went ahead and put everything back together. I just wanted to show you the difference between this nasty old filter and the one that I just received. This is the Yamaha actual filter that goes into the bike. I've already removed it from the plastic. And I'm not sure why anybody would want to clean that old nasty thing and put it in when you could put this nice new one in. Big difference. I don't think the old one's even cleanable. Let's go over what we've accomplished so far in these first 3 volumes, which is quite a bit. Let's start by talking about all the fairings removed. We go over each piece and how to get it off the bike. We talk about the exhaust touch-up. We put a brand new coat of paint on that exhaust and made it look nice and pretty. We did an air filter replacement. I show you where the filter is and how to replace it. We do a full oil change, including the oil strainer and the oil filter. We do a full coolant cleaning, flush, and replacement. This included going through 2 gallons of distilled water with vinegar to get it crystal clear in our system. I show you how to remove the spark plug and replace it using the nifty toolkit that is included with the bike. We also go through where the turn signal bulbs are and how to remove those. We go over the final drive oil replacement. I show you where you remove the old oil and where to add the new. We talk about the CVT transmission. I show you how to take that apart, identifying the rollers and slides, checking them for wear, showing you the clutch bell, how to get it nice and clean so it engages well with the weights, which we also renewed. We didn't have to replace. We go over the transmission belt, showed you the part number for that and how to replace it. We go over that step by step, and we also showed you the difference between the old belt and the new. And that's going to do it for volume 3. We have accomplished quite a bit. We still got more things to do. We're going to get into volume 4, maybe volume 5, I don't know. I'm not rushing these, definitely taking my time. But if you like my videos, please subscribe. And if you have an opportunity to give me a thumbs up for my content, I appreciate that too. Volume 4 will be coming soon. And I also got other videos coming on my Hondas. I just have a lot of things scheduled. It's just having the time to accomplish them all, I guess. But I will see you soon with Volume 4.